The Chinese Coast Guard has just sent a jamming drone into Philippine waters. This happened yesterday at Bajo de Masinloc. The Philippine Coast Guard tried to stop it using a water cannon, but the Chinese drone just kept going in. It was able to get close enough to the oil tanker that they were able to drop what appears to be an explosive device. Now, the whole thing is quite hard to believe, so let me break it down for you. This is a very sensitive area. We're talking about the Bajo de Masinloc, also known as the Scarborough Shoal. It's located 124 miles off the coast of Zamboanga, well within the Philippine Economic Exclusive Zone, or EEZ. In simpler terms, this is part of the Philippines. In May 2020, China sent a research vessel to the area, followed by 3 Coast Guard vessels, and one of them had a drone capability. The Philippine Coast Guard then deployed a team to investigate. They found an unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV, doing circles around the oil tanker. They tried to stop it using a water cannon, but the drone just kept going in. Now, according to international law, this is a clear violation. The Philippines has every right to stop and board this drone, but as we've seen in previous incidents, once a Chinese vessel enters Philippine waters, things can quickly escalate. So instead of risking a confrontation, the Philippine Coast Guard just kept the water cannon going. At this point, the drone operator had 2 choices. He could have stopped the drone and hoped that the Philippine Coast Guard would back off, or he could press on and try to deliver whatever payload he was carrying. We don't know exactly what that payload was, but reports say that it could be an explosive device. And as we're recording this, there is no update as to what caused the explosion. If, indeed, an explosion occurred, if there was a detonation, that would clearly be an act of aggression. It would be considered a hostile act against the Philippines and could even be considered an act of war. This is not the first time that we have seen something like this. Back in March 2022, the Chinese Coast Guard performed a similar maneuver. Another oil tanker was scheduled for maintenance in the same area. It was supposed to leave for Singapore, but it never did because a Chinese Coast Guard ship entered the area. Again, a drone was deployed, and it tried to get as close as it could before dropping a device into the water. These incidents are becoming more brazen. For one, the Chinese ships keep getting closer and closer to the Philippine Islands. Secondly, they're now deploying explosive devices. The good news is that so far these devices have not detonated, according to the Philippines. The bad news is that we don't really know why they didn't detonate. Maybe it was just a malfunction. Or maybe the devices are designed to detonate at a certain time. So what can the Philippines do to defend itself? Well, the first option is to do nothing. Just let China do whatever it wants and hope that the devices don't detonate. Of course, that's a risky strategy. The second option is to use force to stop the Chinese drone. The problem with that is the risk of escalation. A Chinese vessel could easily claim that it was attacked first, and that could lead to a wider conflict. Remember that China has a much larger navy. They have almost 400 surface combatants compared to the Philippines' 60. Their Air Force also has over 3,000 aircraft compared to the Philippine Air Force S-100. So if the Philippines uses force, it would have to be a very well-planned operation. That's why the Philippines needs allies. They need help from other countries to deter China. But the question is, how much help can they get? The US is committed to helping the Philippines under the Mutual Defense Board, but it doesn't specify how much help they can provide. Australia has also pledged support, but hasn't specified what that entails. For now, the best option for the Philippines is to call for more international attention. This incident will be brought up during the ASEAN Regional Forum later today. Hopefully, the foreign ministers can come up with a strong statement. But ultimately, the Philippines needs ironclad support from its allies. If not, these incidents will just keep on happening. I'll end this video here. If you liked it, please share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.